There's something to be said about internet celebrity. I mean, the most obvious is that it's a terrifying yet meaningless thing to be, but going beyond that, there's something to be said about the nature of internet celebrity and the way that it happens. Like, what does being an internet celebrity even mean, especially as the internet itself continues to evolve? Does it mean getting a lot of views? I mean, at this point in my life, I've written several videos that have gotten around 1 million views, and at a certain point in time, that would put me in the upper echelon of YouTubers. And as far as solo video essays, my demo reel video is probably the closest thing to going viral as you can expect from a channel that had under 300 subscribers uploading a proper video for the first time. Seriously, what the fuck happened there? But I mean, of course I'm not a YouTube celebrity. I'm some loser with a microphone, and that uploads things, and sometimes the number goes high. But there was a certain era when it felt like that's pretty much all you needed. A video would take off and you'd get a lot of views, and suddenly you'd find yourself more than just a person with a popular video. You'd be an internet sensation, a personality, and in the best or worst case scenario, you'd be, well, a meme. Memes are powerful things. Like, on a surface level, all a meme means is a certain idea that is passed around in a culture from person to person. And so when something you've done becomes a meme, in a way it means that your influence has reached beyond the scope of you as an individual or a figure, but rather the symbolic concept of what you represent. Becoming an internet meme is different from becoming an internet celebrity, as a meme is generally more focused, more based around a certain aspect of yourself that catches on, rather than anything about the actual original person or work as a whole. As the internet makes sharing information and bonding over shared jokes and shitposts easier than ever, yeah, of course memes are going to take off. And off, and off, and off, and off a cliff, and then buried, and then revived over and over. Memes as a whole have changed a lot across time, to the point where the idea of what we once thought as the traditional, original memes just aren't fun anymore. Even the word memes sounds weird now, right? Like, hey kids, look at these memes, you know about memes? For a while though, there was a very clear pipeline to accidental notoriety. And the early internet was full of tons of videos that people shared around and told each other about that became part of what people associated as the online experience. There were a lot of fun and neat and cool videos that got viral. And if you were around then, I know what you were probably thinking. God, I wish I could see a movie with all these people in it. That's what you were thinking, right? Enter the Chronicles of Rick Roll, a film that would bring together some of the hottest internet celebrities from that era, like Antoine Dawson, Leroy Jenkins, Daft Hands, Chad Vader, Numa Numa, and many more. It had a trailer that dropped in 2011 and went massively viral, and then nothing. The film never came out, and most people seem to have forgotten that it ever happened. Huh. This project fascinates me. I always love finding things like this, and trying to find info on what exactly happened was hard. Like, there's a Know Your Meme page, but it isn't filled with much information. Also, if I try to load it on my phone, it looks like the end of Interstellar for some reason. So if you want something done, I guess you gotta do it yourself. So please join me as I try to figure out what happened to the Chronicles of Rick Roll, the lost movie about internet memes. Alright, so before we get fully into this, I want to set up a few things. The Chronicles of Rick Roll was the passion project of a man named Andrew Fisher. Fisher had his own share of online notoriety. He went viral back in 2005 when he listed his forehead as an advertising space on eBay. The campaign gained attention because this was in peak "look at this weird eBay listing" times, and he was brought onto the news circuit, and eventually the auction ended with the company Snore Stop, a snoring treatment, spending $37,375 to have the company's logo temporarily tattooed on his head for 30 days. I can't believe that's a sentence I just said. It was an interesting move and set in motion the path for Fisher going forward, that being focused on internet virality. From this point on, Fisher set up a variety of programs and businesses and pursuits. There's only two that are worth talking about for this video, though. There's Nerve, no, not that one, his professional production company that essentially specializes in digital marketing for corporations in order to help receive viral attention. Then there's PopMalt, which seems to be Fisher's attempt to make a viral hub site a la BuzzFeed or early fail blog or just stuff around those lines. There's only one thing from this era that caught on, an edit of Dumb and Dumber in the style of the Inception trailer, which managed to get over 3 million views because trailer edits used to be wildly popular on YouTube. PopMalt never really went anywhere beyond that, and seems to mainly exist now to share other people's memes on Facebook. Including this one, Andrew, I have some questions and concerns. There's also Fisher's newest business venture, which isn't relevant, but I do want to bring it up. A satirical Christian news site like The Onion or Hard Drive. though its last article was 10 months ago, pretty soon after it started. It's, well, Christian satire. Most of it is about what you would expect. Weirdly enough, the article started out what you would think something like this would look like: basic Onion-style sarcasm and parody writing, and then at the halfway point turns into a straight-up religious lecture. It's very odd to experience while reading. Though I will say that as a kid who spent a lot of time in a Baptist church, this headline actually did get a legitimate chuckle out of me. Regardless, all this points to the fact that Andrew Fisher was a man who was focused on the internet and the concept of going viral. It motivated a lot of his business and creative ventures. So in a lot of respects, it makes sense that he would try to make a movie like the Chronicles of Rick Roll. I mean, why not? In his own words, the cast he managed to get totaled around 2 billion views across the internet. Surely their combined star power would be worth something. Plus, being internet viral is cool, and people like seeing internet stars. And so with that, Andrew recruited a fair share of collaborators to be in the film, and in early 2011, a trailer for it was put online. And it went big. So this would be the part of the video where I look at the work and critique the film, do a deep dive into it and what I think, but I can't because the only footage from this project that was ever released was the trailer. So normally I wouldn't hyperanalyze a piece of promotional material like this, but considering it's all I have to go on, I mean, you know. Also, before I do a deep dive, I want to make something clear. So this isn't actually a trailer for the movie, but rather a concept trailer. That's actually something that I think the creators did a bad job conveying, and none of the articles covering it seem to really do a good job highlighting it either. So for those who don't know, a concept trailer is a trailer made to sell the movie, and I mean literally to sell the movie. Essentially, it's making a trailer that exists to show to studios or potential investors in order to hopefully get funding or backing for the full thing. It's closer to the video you'd include in a Kickstarter than a trailer you'd actually see in a theater in front of another film. Generally in those cases, you're at least cutting down from a fully finished film and editing together something representative of the final product. But stuff in concept trailers are usually shot specifically for concept trailers. So when I say this trailer is the only footage for Chronicles of Rick Roll, I mean only footage. As far as we know, the stuff shown here was probably the only things that ever got shot. I'm mentioning all this beforehand because concept trailers generally have, well, lower production values than actual trailers. If you're doing something in order to hopefully receive funding, you're probably in the position where you don't have the proper funding for things like professional actors, an experienced crew, proper sets, effects, equipment, and post-production. All this is to say that I won't necessarily be critiquing the trailer based on its production values. It's not entirely fair to act as if the finished film would look like this or to judge it based on those standards. For now, at the very least, I want to simply examine the content, which is bad on its own standards. Okay, so let me break down the plot as best as I can interpret it. So our trailer starts with a video call between what I assume is a couple, Allison and Rick. Allison sets up her webcam and is wearing riding boots in bed for some reason. Something happens and Allison seemingly gets sucked into the internet, or middle internet as it's called, I guess. Like Middle Earth, you know? Here she runs into Antoine Dodson, who takes the role of the Mad Hatter from Alice in Wonderland for some reason. They have a tea party, and then I guess something happens to her. Rick also enters the internet where he meets Bear Vasquez, the guy from the Double Rainbow video, who is currently admiring a lamppost in a way that's supposed to parody Narnia. Bear takes him to Antoine Dawson, who says that someone apparently snatched Allison up. Then we find out that the brother from the Greatest Freakout Ever video is also stuck in the internet, and Rick Roll, Antoine Dawson, and Bear Vasquez go to meet him so that he can help. Then we see the Boom Goes the Dynamite Kid lead a meeting amongst the internet meme personalities, telling them to fight back against the world's preconception of them. And that's basically as much of the plot as I can glean. The rest of the trailer is either various punchlines or footage from what I guess are battle scenes. It also ends with a reference to Inception because, well, of course it does. It was 2011. In a lot of respects, this trailer is a perfect showcase of what a meme movie should look like. By that I mean that it essentially relies almost solely on the identification of familiar imagery rather than any actual punchline. People show up, say or reference the thing that they're known for, and then the scene moves on. Whether or not this is actually funny is hard to say because, well, here we are 10 years later when most of these are long dead jokes and references. Maybe this killed back in 2011, but I highly doubt it. I think my favorite line is from the Boom Goes the Dynamite Kid. He gives this large speech about how he wants them to be seen as more than just their past and move on to a grand future, before going on to say the line that he's most famous for.
What? You expected me to say Boom Goes the Dynamite?
It reminds me a lot of a trailer from Freeberg and Seltzer. They're a problem I'll tackle another day because that's going to be a huge headache. But I went ahead and pulled up a trailer for Epic Movie, the film of theirs that's primarily a Narnia parody, and it's shocking how similar the two feel in terms of presentation and humor style. Both primarily rely on references to popular things in culture, where the main joke is the simple act of recognition rather than any sort of punchline or recontextualization. I think the main thing that keeps this trailer from working, though, is that it's not really clear exactly what it is that it's selling. If this is a comedy film, well, the trailer isn't funny. And I don't mean that just in the sense that the memes are old or aren't good enough jokes. I mean, there is a bit of that. Like, they repeat the double rainbow joke twice, and I think a general rule of thumb is that if your trailer already has to use the same joke more than once, it's probably not a good sign for whether or not a full version would be worth watching.
Double lamppost! Oh, double rings!
And if you weren't familiar with the internet memes in question already, then this is nothing. There's only really one thing close to a joke that doesn't rely on you knowing the personality, and it's still an internet reference.
Be careful, Richard. You'll find this world to be more savage than you thought.
Congratulations, you won! Congratulations, you won! Abbot, apply directly to the abdominals. Abbot!
But that's not all I mean when I say it's not funny. I mean that at a certain point, even attempts at jokes seem to stop. Like, just stop so that we can get something trying to look like an epic with fast-paced cuts and action scenes designed to create some form of intensity. It's honestly pretty jarring. The film's Twitter account seems to answer some of this discrepancy, as they posted some tweets replying to some person named Peter Coffin. I don't know. Anyway, the account says that the film is, quote, an action-adventure story with the internet as a backdrop, and actually addresses the Friedberg and Seltzer similarities, with the account telling this supposed Peter Coffin person, quote, it'll feel much more like how hashtag Shrek is to fairy tales than how hashtag Meet the Spartans is to hashtag 300. This is a very interesting sentence to try to dissect. And I stared at my computer screen thinking of how to write a long paragraph breaking this down, but to be honest, I have nothing. Okay, this film is like Shrek. Alright, fuck it, let's go. So yeah, the trailer for Chronicles of Rick Roll. I'm not a fan. But some people were, and if the goal of the video was to go viral, then, well, it did. The original 2011 upload of this trailer has been privated, so it's hard to tell how many views it got, but the video got spread around a lot. Like, a lot. Actual publications like ABC, Business Insider, and CNN covered it. It was posted several times on Reddit, sometimes from people really excited about it. It even received the highest honor possible, being featured on Ellen DeGeneres.
It's a real movie, and it features all of the stars of YouTube. Double Rainbow Guy is there, and Antoine Bed Intruder Dotson.
As far as concept trailers go, this is perhaps the best you could ask for, right? Like, not every project gets this much publicity early on, and it seems like this publicity allowed them to get a bit more star power in. According to the official page on an archived version of Nerve's website, additional cast members were added, like Chuck's Mark Christopher Lawrence, as well as other internet celebrities like Boxy and Coppercap and David After Dentist and hold on. Does that say 60 million? Is $60 million. 60 million United States dollars. Okay. All right. 60 million. So, just for fun, I want to compare this to other films from around 2011. So let's start off with Terrence Malick's The Tree of Life, which features a lot of high-profile celebrities and elaborate on-location shots and had a budget of $32 million. Then we have Seth Gordon's Horrible Bosses, a star-studded comedy film. It had a budget of $35 million. We also have Duncan Jones's Source Code, an action experimental science fiction film starring Jake Gyllenhaal, which cost $31.9 million to make. And of course there's Daniel Barnes's Beastly, which cost $17 million. I bring these up because I feel like it says something. Obviously every film is different, filmmaking is expensive, and without a script it's impossible to know the exact scope that Chronicles of Rick Roll was going for. Like, yes, it's clear that this is going for a fantasy setting, and stuff like that can get pricey. Additionally, with this film trying to get as much of a large internet ensemble cast as it could, I imagine there was a push there to make sure all the on-screen talent was being paid well and equally in order to attract people to the project and to make sure everyone is happy. I don't think there's anything wrong with asking for a high budget per se. Shoot for the stars and negotiate downwards, you know? But also, I just cannot in my head imagine a reason for this film to cost $60 million. Like, even being generous, there's no way. To put that into perspective, Sucker Punch came out about a month after the Rick Roll trailer first dropped, and it cost $82 million. Only around $20 million more than what Rick Roll was asking for, which isn't that much in the grand scheme of Hollywood filmmaking. Rick Roll doesn't look like a Sucker Punch. It looks like an epic movie. And that cost only $20 million to make. And that still felt like too much there. Anyway, Andrew Fisher planned on writing this hype forward as best as he could, and by the end of the year, an official Indiegogo for the project was started. So the official Chronicles of Rick Roll Indiegogo campaign launched in fall of 2011 with an end date of March 27th, 2012, with a goal of $100,000. Before I deep dive into it, I will say that the official Indiegogo page has been taken down. I was able to access it via the Wayback Machine and find a low-quality 360p reposting of the campaign video, but it's going to be hard for me to get authentic stats or account for any changes or updates that might have happened beyond what I was able to find. The main Indiegogo page itself is normal, I guess. The perks are about what you expect from a movie fundraiser. Things like a special email at the lower tier, promotional t-shirt and poster at mid-tiers, and things like attending the premiere and autographed scripts at higher tiers. The only real interesting thing in the perks is that one of them is a wood carving of the logo with an option to have the spelled like "tuh." I hope this joke works audibly. And a perk that cost $1,337. Get it? It's like leet. It's like the word leet. That's the joke. It's like an internet thing. There's also a joke tier called Jerry Bruckheimer Click Here that costs $100 million. And that's a cute gag, I guess, placing an absurdly high value on your professional fundraising platform. It might be a bit tacky, but oh shit, I should get rid of that. But yeah, otherwise, pretty standard rewards, but there is some interesting stuff here in the actual meat of the campaign. For example, in a section titled, "Exactly How Awesome Is This Movie Going to Be?", there's a statement that, quote, "The Chronicles of Rick Roll will be the start of a new Hollywood franchise capable of competing in the summer blockbuster category." And a bit down from that, it says the film is, quote, "too big and exciting to be made on a shoestring budget. It will feature top-of-the-line cinematography, special effects, a worthy musical score, A-list talent, and producers." So once again, we arrive back at the issue of budget and concept for the film, and the dissonance between what it looks like they're trying to sell and what they're saying they're trying to sell. You can sort of see it in the campaign itself. The rewards are full of these tongue-in-cheek jokes and references, things like ZOMG and I Can Has, and here's a poster for the game. But the text of the campaign itself sounds like it's trying to pitch you something like Star Wars. And there's this bold attitude that this film, entitled The Chronicles of Rick Roll, is not only a summer blockbuster, but a full franchise. Maybe the script they have is good enough that it could be true. I mean, Ready Player One got a blockbuster adaptation and a book sequel, but this project hasn't done enough to really convey that it could even reach that level. God, I complimented Jason Friedberg and Aaron Seltzer and Ready Player One today. I'm at a really good point in my life right now. There's also a really important thing to note about this Indiegogo campaign. You may have a question about why the goal is only $100,000 if this is supposed to be a $60 million film. And the answer to that is that this isn't actually funding the film. This is funding the pitching process so that they can convince other people to fund it. The money they're asking for would go towards things like traveling to meet with investors, paying for marketing and promoting their work, and making more concept trailers. I'm on this. Like, this is just a personal bias thing, but Kickstarters and Indiegogos for funding the pitch process always rub me the wrong way. Like, I know there's a legitimate reason for them, and that they can be super helpful and vital for certain projects. But, like, I don't know. Crowdfunding already feels like such a gamble a lot of the time. So many projects get funded and then never get made. Crowdfunding, not an actual product, but stuff to hopefully get funding from other sources so that it might get made, is just not that enticing to me. And in regards to this specific project, this is after they already spent money and filmed a concept trailer for pitching purposes that went viral and appeared on several news sites. So the idea that this project would need additional money in order to make a more successful pitch at this point doesn't add up to me. And I guess for a lot of people either, because this project did not reach its goal, like nowhere close. I can't give you an exact number because the latest version of the page I can access on Internet Archive is February 14th, 2012, 43 days before the end of the campaign. But considering how at this point the project only had $1,316 in funding, and that it took 3 months to get there, and the fact that the page was deleted later, yeah, I'm going to assume this didn't make it. Unless they did hit that Jerry Bruckheimer tier. For what it's worth, I can't confirm this, but I have heard that Andrew Fisher apparently refunded all of the backers despite not needing to since it was a flexible funding project. If true, then I do respect that gesture. But alright, crowdfunding was a bust. It's clear that alternate methods would need to be taken in order to get the movie made. So, what comes next? Trying to track Chronicles of Rick Roll information from this time period is hard as shit. A big part of the problem is that a lot of the film's official platforms just aren't online anymore. Mainly its Facebook page, which seemed to be the primary hub for news and updates. They did have the Facebook page linked up to the film's official Twitter account though, which means digging through the Twitter helps a lot. Though not perfectly, as the messages are still cut off and incomplete, which makes a fair bit of them barely comprehensible. Why did the Chronicles of Rick Roll producer Andrew Fisher just spend a few days drawing a very unique picture? The recently completed The Chronicles of Rick Roll screenplay is currently receiving excellent feedback from... You probably thought Scarlett Johansson was the newest cast member in The Chronicles of Rick Roll. Nope, it's... There are some legit original tweets made here at the time, mainly adding Ray William Johnson and Ashton Kutcher and Conan O'Brien over and over, asking them to either share the film's trailer or star in the finished film. I'm not sure why these three were pursued so aggressively, but... okay. The next piece of actual concrete news I can find comes from mid-2012. A tweet from May of that year states that they were officially going to LA in order to work on the production. On June 15th, they tweeted that a company known as Ambi Publicity would be representing the film at San Diego Comic-Con next month. Oh, also on June 17th, it was stated or implied that production was officially moving forward, but note from the future, not sure what that's about because they were still clearly in pre-production, but okay, terminology, nitpick. But yeah, AMB set up a red carpet press event at San Diego Comic-Con 2012. It appears the only members of the team that attended are Andrew Fisher, Mark Christopher Lawrence, Boxy, aka Catherine Wayne, and Bear Vasquez. According to the comments, Tay was supposed to be there, but he drove to the wrong address and arrived late and decided to just go home instead. Also, interestingly enough, for some reason a fair share of interviews from this event were apparently shot in 3D. I'm not sure if it's actual 3D or not, but theoretically it is. You can try to test it out if you can find one of the 5 people who actually owns a 3D TV. Okay, so, here I am with my 3D TV. I guess let's go ahead and just hit the 3D button and, oh! It actually works! It's like I'm looking at Boxy. It's like she's right here. Filming gimmicks aside, these interviews are kind of amazing in how much nothing they are. Part of the problem about doing a publicity event for a movie still so early in the production stage is that there's really not much to talk about, at least not publicly. So at a certain point, the questions stop being about the film at all and just go into whatever.
I loved Avatar.
And they're making a second Avatar, I heard.
Really? Oh, dynamite.
There is one thing that caught my eye here, and it's how Mark describes the film.
Tell you one thing about it, because right now we're very hush-hush.
Yeah.
It's a drama, sort of sci-fi.
Oh god, what is this movie? So the event is over, and that's it. I mean, basically. They announced a 2014 release for the film, but that basically came and went. At some point, the original Facebook page and original trailer were taken down. For some reason, in 2016, Andrew uploaded the trailer again, this time to PopMult, around the same time that they uploaded a video recreating the Numa Numa vid with the original guy and everyone else that was there for the original concept trailer shooting. I assume this was filmed while they were making the trailer and uploaded in 2016, probably to take advantage of the 10-year anniversary of the original Numa Numa vid. For what it's worth, this one did pretty well numbers-wise, having about 1.3 million views as of the time of me writing this. The Chronicles of Rick Roll trailer re-upload didn't fare as well though, only getting 91,000 views despite being linked at the end of the Numa Numa one. On the PopMult article for the 2016 re-upload, it states, quote, "Our goal was always to make a feature-length film that encapsulated elements of this trailer. While a lot has changed since the inception of this idea, that remains our goal." So presumably they were still trying to get the movie made. The Twitter account certainly kept updating, mainly the same cut-off Facebook posts as before, until it started being used just to share whatever Andrew was doing on PopMult now. The next update I could find was a tweet from Andrew's personal account from 2018, stating that, "Sadly, not much to report except that if it happens, it will be very different than originally planned, whatever that looks like. I'm happy with where things are though, and have no regrets. Money was lost and lessons were learned, but good has come of it." He then adds in a further reply that, quote, "Wreck-It Ralph 2 basically did the idea now, so there's that." Which is a pretty fair point. I wouldn't want to make a film similar to Wreck-It Ralph 2 either, though I think Andrew and I have very different reasons for why we feel that way. Finally, back in March of this year, 10 years after the trailer was originally uploaded, Andrew replied to an inquiry about the movie with, quote, "Sadly, we were unable to generate the necessary interest from potential investors needed to fund the film. Maybe another opportunity will present itself in the future, but there are no current plans to continue pursuing the project." Which for now means the Chronicles of Rick Roll is done for good. So, what happened here? So whenever I talk about quote-unquote failed media, I always ask myself a certain question. Why did this fail to catch on? And so I did the same for this project before realizing that's not really applicable here. The real question is, why did this catch on but not catch on enough? Like, this project had some genuine interest and hype and buzz. There are a lot of films who would love to have gotten the amount of media coverage as this did. People were clearly interested. They were able to get their fair share of internet star power around the time that people would care about these people being in a project like this. Why didn't the hype for this carry over into hype for seeing the full project realized? If I had to answer, I think that the concept trailer actually worked heavily against the film. And that may be weird to say, considering how it was the thing that got the project the attention in the first place, but hear me out. There's a few reasons why I think so. The first is admittedly a very biased and maybe incorrect opinion. I kinda don't like pitch videos. Okay, that is a bit unfair. What I mean is that I was taught in film school that pitch videos are a dangerous ground, and oftentimes you probably shouldn't bother making one. Now, they can be very useful when it comes to getting things made. Just off the top of my head, filmmakers like Sam Raimi and the Coen brothers made concept trailers in order to get funding for their first films, Evil Dead and Blood Simple, and it worked there. Leaked test footage for Deadpool generated enough online interest for Fox to finally make a proper film adaptation. The Always Sunny in Philadelphia crew made a short film with a shitty camera in order to convince executives to greenlight the show. So yeah, these things can be useful, but there's an important caveat here. Concept and pitch videos help when you're trying to demonstrate something that you don't think you can convey solely through a pitch meeting or leave behind or anything like that. It's especially helpful for genre pieces or comedies, as they can rely so much on the execution of the material in order for you to get what the creator is going for. If you didn't know what Sam Raimi is capable of as a director, Evil Dead is going to seem pretty lame on paper. And same for something like Always Sunny. That form of dark humor works best when you see the gang perform it and see their chemistry and style. So theoretically, this means Chronicles of Rick Roll would benefit from this treatment. I mean, it is both a genre film and a comedy, apparently. Well, there's one thing, and I think it's the reason why I have a hard time fully embracing pitch videos. If you're doing it, you need to make sure it's really fucking good. Like, I'm not necessarily saying that when you make concept footage that you need to go all out and make it as professional and expensive as possible, and it should 100% reflect the same level of quality as the final product. If you could do that, then why would you even make concept footage? Just make the thing. But rather, what we were taught is that if you're making a video to include in a pitch, you want it to be at least something that seems to be quality and plays well to whatever your main selling point is. If you're selling a comedy, then it needs to be funny. If you're selling a horror film, then it needs to be scary. To make up a completely hypothetical scenario, if you're hoping to sell a TV series about drift racing, it's probably not a good idea to spend all the time and money into making a full-length TV pilot for it, unless you're 100% confident that you have the skills, equipment, people, and resources to properly film an exciting drift race scene. Pitching a series is kind of like making food on Cutthroat Kitchen. You may think that adding extra mashed potatoes on the plate will make it better, but it has a pretty fair chance of distracting from the stronger points and making the judges think less of your creation as a whole. Wow, really specific comparison there, Emily. Way to go. I know I said earlier that I wasn't going to hold the production values of the Chronicles of Rick Roll trailer against it, and I didn't from a content perspective, but looking at it from the point of view of an investor, it's not all that good. The acting isn't great, the sound is all over the place, it's clearly filmed on a shoestring budget that makes it actively hard to tell what they're going for in times. Like, when they clearly use the mansion they're filming in for several scenes, and it's unclear if this is supposed to be one place, or it's one location being used as a stand-in for several locations, because it honestly gives off that vibe, even if that's not the intention. Big filming in your own house energy. Even the trailer's main music, Heart of Courage, adds to that amateur feel, as that's the most generic, epic track you can have. Like, that's something Doug Walker would throw into one of his videos. And I go back to that genre issue in that if the Chronicles of Rick Roll is supposed to be a dramatic blockbuster science fiction fantasy film, then the concept trailer does a poor job of selling it and making that clear. Not to be harsh, but the idea of a concept trailer is that you're trying to pitch the project, not just why it's a good idea, but why you and your creative team are the ideal ones to do that. And I don't think the Chronicles of Rick Roll hit that goal. But hey, you know, that's a personal bias. I'm sure people more experienced than me will say that concept trailers and all that can be useful, and this was a good call and good thing to do, and that's fair. I do, however, think there is a more definite, concrete way in which this trailer sort of sabotaged the full film. In 2008, the band Weezer released their music video for the song Pork and Beans. Notable about the video is its usage and inclusion of several internet memes in various forms, either via references or by getting the original person to appear. The video was a pretty big hit, racking in a lot of views very quickly and being shared around, even won a Grammy Award. A lot of people really got into it at the time, if anything because it was 2008, and seeing a hit critically acclaimed and highly respected band like Weezer acknowledge and reference those dumb things we share online felt fun. I mention this not because I want to talk about Weezer or even say that the idea of doing an internet meme crossover had been done before. No, I'm saying this because the video is about 3 minutes long, which is the amount of time you apparently need to entertain people with this concept. And hey, wouldn't you know, the Chronicles of Rick Roll trailer is also about 3 minutes long. Yeah, I think in a lot of respects this is the reason why the hype for the project seems so uneven and wavering. If you were someone who would be legitimately excited to see memes cross over with each other, then, well, congrats. You got that in the trailer. And you can say, well, this is just the trailer. The full movie would have way more people and way more for the characters to do, and people could enjoy seeing them in action, but no. I feel like at a certain point we have to be open to the fact that internet meme celebrities aren't like the Avengers or something. They're not characters. You can try to make them characters, but that's not going to change the fact that for most people, they're just a line or an appearance. There's nothing in the trailer that makes me feel like I need to see the full film in order to experience how these characters interact or the story they go on, because if you're someone watching this trailer for the memes, you don't care about the story. You care about hearing a line you know about, and once you hear it, the endorphins in your brain go, good, and then move on. Like, at least with something like the Channel Awesome Anniversary films, the people in them generally had hours of content for you to consume, and thus made them more interesting from a fan perspective to see all together. God, Freeburg and Seltzer, Ready Player One, and Channel Awesome Anniversary films. I'm sure there were some people who legitimately were excited by the trailer when it uploaded and would happily have watched a finished version, but then we come back to the concept trailer issue and how poorly it was conveyed. Anyone hyped for the project was hyped under the expectation that the film was finished and would drop soon. The fact that the film proper hadn't even started actual production yet means to me that even if things had gone well and they were able to get the movie funded and filmed soon after the trailer dropped, it still would have been too late for most people, and the project would have probably landed with a thud. Honestly, the trailer is a mixed bag. Like, it got shared around, it got noticed, but it also set expectations for the film, for what it would look like and what it needed to provide for the fans. And I can't help but wonder whether or not this would be a different story if they had used that 2-day shoot to instead make a short film, or if they had scheduled time in to make the movie on a very low budget rather than shooting for a blockbuster that was realistically never going to happen. I don't know, that's just my read on it. The Chronicles of Rick Roll is a project that fascinates me, for a variety of reasons. I mean, on a really basic level, because I enjoy finding out about quote-quote lost media, but I also think it's the fact that it feels like such a relic of history, something that could only happen once. I don't think you could make this movie or even this trailer today. And I don't just mean that in the sense of, oh, well, all the memes are old and outdated. I mean that's certainly an issue. A lot of the memes here are so old that they're not funny anymore. And you have things that complicate certain personalities appearing, stuff like Catherine Wayne essentially retiring the Boxy character and transitioning into voice acting, the tragic passing of Paul Bear Vasquez last year, more than likely due to COVID, and the year since the original Bed Intruder video causing a certain unspoken reevaluation of the whole ordeal, as more and more of Antoine Dawson's personal struggles came to the forefront, and as we as a society started to question whether or not it was actually really all that funny for us to make fun of how a queer African-American man sounded when recounting the attempted sexual assault of his sister. But I think there's more that goes into just how dated it all feels. To me, there exist 2 eras of YouTube, and there was a major shift in the early 2010s, and I think the Chronicles of Rick Roll fits right into that shift. Early YouTube was characterized by accidental success. People would upload a video of themselves or someone else just for fun, and it would catch on and become big. Celebrity felt incidental. You had some YouTube personalities, sure, but it was a lot rarer and felt like it was coming more from a working for fun in my basement fashion. Contrast that to now, where that incidental celebrity doesn't seem to exist. Everything is content. People upload vids in the hopes of it getting views. Monetization is the goal. Even when videos do unexpectedly blow up, it's always more than likely that it was something made for the purpose of public consumption, rather than simply moments captured in time blowing up on their own accord. YouTube as a space has become commercialized. The internet as a whole, really. Everything is planned and everything is deliberately designed to try and be popular. The Chronicles of Rick Roll to me signifies this shift. It's an attempt to commercialize the incidental, to take people who accidentally stumbled into online notoriety and present them in big, grand, for-profit projects. To sell them not just as a single joke that went viral, but personalities that you should care about and follow. Maybe that's a cynical take on the situation. I'm sure Andrew had legitimate artistic passion for this, but it's not wrong either. I mean, when you get down to it, the spirit of the Chronicles of Rick Roll trailer lived for years in YouTube Rewind. Short videos that paired popular creators together with memes and references in order to sell people on how great the platform and being in the know was. The Chronicles of Rick Roll never got made into a film, and it mostly faded into obscurity. But to me, it does represent something. It represents a shift, a change, a moment that the internet can never truly come back to. So I want to go ahead and thank all my patrons, who are all amazing and patient people who I'm so grateful for. Beyond the names listed on screen, I'd also like to personally thank Alpha Chad Beck, Alice in the Middle, Beacon Bug, Bulk, Clara M., Daisy Hind, Dan Connell, Dan Pierce, Dana Carrier, David Portnov, David Rose, Dramatic Soprano, Elijah Siddiqui, Alyssa Key, Elliot Berry, Emma Kay, John Carlo, J. Marquez Durst, Jess, Katrina Leonidikis, Kelsey Hoover, Kyle Edmond, Kyle Slaby, Lily Sugarman, Madry Bread, Mason B., Matt Baker, Michelle, Michael Freytag, Mr. Bones, Mr. Schmift, Myriad, Nazreen, Nathan Y., Nick Melendi, Nick Skahe, Not Horses, Paige, Quithar, Ramona Montagani, Richard Pryor, Sam Wade, Samuel Snap, Sarah Zed, Scarebank, Scientist Otter, Sean Lane, Sebastian Canino, Simon Welsh, Skylar Conlon, Sound Effects Madison, Spencer, Stephen Fan, The Independent Shadow, All the Shadows Grew Teeth, Interested Teeth, Teeth with Eyes, The Recognition Scene, Tim Delegati, Tobias Luchne, Trevor Steers, Woody Sims, York, and Zachary Brill. Thank you all so much for the support. It's so helpful and appreciated, and like always, if I said your name wrong, please contact me. I'm sorry. It's nothing personal. I'm just a gigantic bad at things. You know, this was really fun. I really enjoyed getting to take you back to the past. Maybe I'll do that again next vid. Until then, may Ray William Johnson eating Pop-Tart covered flying rainbow cats fill your dreams. Good night!